everyone, and you're listening to the Millennium Fellowship presents
Social Impact Stories with Srijang and Vlada. Welcome. This is a podcast in which we interview Millennium Fellows, social impact students, and global leaders to tell their social impact stories.
And today in this episode, we have a Millennium Fellow from Russia, Polina. She is working towards advancing SDG 13, that is climate action. And we're really glad to have you here, Polina. So would you like to introduce yourself a bit to our listeners?
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me here. I'm super excited to be in the podcast. So, as you said, I'm Polina. I am from St. Petersburg, Russia, but I study in Klaipėda, Lithuania, in LCC International University. I'm an English major. I'm a senior student, and I focus on translation. So I speak English and Russian, obviously, but I'm planning to learn a third language, maybe German, because it sounds funny, but it can also be very powerful. As an English major, I'm a huge fan of books. And I think the interesting fact about me is that long story short, one fiction book was the final reason why I decided to become an environmentalist. And that was kind of the beginning of my story as an activist.
Okay, nice. That's very interesting to hear, right?
Srijang, you agree? Right. Wow, I'm really amazed about that. The origin of you becoming an activist from a book. That's really inspiring. So yeah, as this is a podcast about social impacts, so would you like to tell us and the listeners about the problem that you're trying to solve and how you're doing it?
Mm-hmm. Right. So as you said before, my project focuses on climate change. But in general, the issue that I'm passionate about is, nature as it is, protection of the nature. And in the very beginning of my path, I was like, humans destroy the planet. I need to protect the nature from them, like extermination of humanity. We don't need people anymore. But eventually, after a few years, I understood that it's all interconnected, and I don't really need to protect the planet from people or protect people from the planet, both ways. I just need to change the system, and not me personally, but together with other people. And the whole system of abusing the planet, of climate change, of inequality, natural resources abuse, child labor, everything is interconnected. And if you truly want to change one part of the whole system, you need also to collaborate with others to help them change other parts. And this way we can make the world a better place. And so, from my side, I'm focusing on the nature, and I try to raise awareness about sustainable consumption and sustainable lifestyle and recycling, composting, about among my family and friends, and also among my university students. So probably my social impact is mostly directed on my immediate community. I'm not a public figure. I do have an Instagram page and stuff like that, but I'm not that active in there. But on the level of my family and friends, I think I've done pretty a lot, and I've been quite successful, if I can say so myself. So some of my friends started recycling, and they started using reusable grocery bags. While compared to the past, they didn't even care if it was single use or reusable. So I kind of can pride myself about this, but this is just for now, because I think it's baby steps, right? And in the future, I want to go on a bigger scale, I think.
That's wonderful to hear. You know how they say that a journey of a mile step starts with one? So, baby steps. Here comes that one step. Indeed. Okay. Well, you are also a part of the Millennium Fellowship class of 2021 this semester. And this is the place that got us all together here in one Zoom room.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that experience, in meaning that, tell us a little bit more about what project you're working on. What is it focusing on? Just a bit more on that.
Right. So as a Millennium Fellow, I am co-leading a project called Climate Change and the Habits, together with my university friend and also a student club mate. So basically, the Habits Club is a student club at LCC, and it aims to raise awareness about sustainability and transform our campus into a more sustainable institution. And so me and Anna Audare, who are the members of the Habits Club, we decided to join the Millennium Fellowship and advance our goals in a more productive way. And so we lead discussions about sustainability. We have developed recycling and composting sites on campus. We lead different events on DIY products, production, or movie nights. So basically, we want to educate people, and especially LCC students, and we want to help them understand how climate change influences their life and in the long time run. And then we want to help them get an opportunity to change something about their lives in order to be more sustainable. So the idea is that it's never helpful to blame people for climate change or threaten them with the consequences. It's just not productive. It won't take you anywhere. But if we want to help people deal with climate change, we need to educate them and then empower them to change something about their lifestyle. And so this is what we're trying to do with our project as Millennium Fellows.
That's really wonderful to hear. And I think that it's also quite an interesting experience to go on in a little bit different level. I would say, because even though you're working more with the local community, it's still quite nice that you have a possibility to go to all of those CDG hours and just in general to, hang out with other people and meet them. So I think that's very great. And I really love your project as your campus director. I'm so proud of all the things you're doing. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. But the last question that I think we've got for you is more concentrated on giving advice. So as someone who is quite an active climate action advocate, what I was wondering what advice you would give to those who are only thinking of starting their journey in advocating climate action. So for those who are only planning to start, maybe they're thinking, but they're maybe, people can be confused, like, what should I do? How should I start it? Does it matter? So what would you give them as an advice?
That's a very good question. And I think that my answer would be probably a bit different from what you guys might expect of me, because I would say that every person who is considering going into activism, and especially environmental activism, they need to remember that they need to put their mental and physical health first, like before everything else. So I've been told multiple times the stories about people being very passionate about this topic and like reading up a lot and doing a lot of projects, and then they just burn out. And there is nothing left of them, and they can't keep on doing those things, even though they are very knowledgeable about stuff and they know how to change things and how to help others change their lifestyle. And so, as a rule of thumb, you first put the oxygen mask on yourself, and then you help others to put their masks on. And you just need to remember that. It might sound silly, but your corpse won't help anyone. And in general, burial practices are not that sustainable either. So we better live long and healthy to have the most positive impact on others throughout our life. So my advice is to take care of yourself, to remember to check on your mental health, to have people you can rely on when you feel down, and to remember that you're not alone. So it's better to join communities of like-minded people where you can find support in the times when you feel really helpless and it feels like there is nothing you can do about the world. You're powerless. You're not capable of everything. You don't know anything. Like, these are normal thoughts, but if you don't deal with them properly, they can take you down, and you just, as I said, you burn out, and that's it. That's the end of your story. So my advice is to take care of yourself, of your mental health and your physical health. That's also important. And in this way, you can achieve whatever you dream of.
Wow, amazing. That's a very powerful advice for everyone who is listening out. And after all, like, we are the greatest problem solvers in the history, we human beings. So we know the problem that we have in hand. And like, it's high time, rather than just talking about what we can do, but do what we can. So that is something what Polina is doing, taking action, and at the same time asking you to take care of yourself. So it's very important. So thank you so much, Polina, for sharing all this with us. Flada, would you like to add on that?
I also would like to thank Polina so much for coming and for sharing all about her journey. And I really hope that her story and her case will inspire others to also take action and, to dive into this topic more, because I think sometimes people are a bit scared to do so. But I think that she's a great role model for those who would like to start on. But on this note, everybody, thank you so much for listening. That was our second episode of the podcast. More is coming, but for now, bye.